And welcome to the Doubting Thomas monthly recap, this time for September of 2023. And joining me, as always, is the Thomas to my doubting, Mr. Cliff Thomas. How you doing this evening?
Hello, I'm doing well. Still,
Just realized I had one of my headphone cups off for some reason. I have no idea why.
just practicing the DJ look. It's great. I
Right.
like it. You should. Exactly. Can I make a request?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to let me hear that bass. All about that bass.
Oh yeah, no trouble. You betcha. But yeah.
So you betcha. Midwestern DJ.
Oh yeah, sure, you betcha. We get you that. We'll get you that bass there. Don't you worry. That's actually more like Minnesotan.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I know Midwest.
Yeah. So it is September of 2023, and I'm gonna go ahead and just say the required. My goodness, this year is flying by. But we are in the midst of the Tech-a-Lanch that happens every year between September and October. I'm back out on the road a lot, and we're all pretty busy. So nature of the beast. But the big news that came out this month was, Cliff, why don't you show them? Okay, it wasn't. And ironically, you sounded like an Android as you showed off that that iPhone. So here, that would be the iPhone 15 Pro. Here's mine.
I was thinking more like a lift, like a
right.
You're well. It works.
I was thinking. See, I was thinking like the robots from Eurotrip. The. Like that.
Yeah.
He obviously does it. Yeah. So great. So Cliff has an iPhone 15 Pro, as do I. We both have the same size. Mine's blue. His is natural titanium. So yeah, that was a bit of a surprise to me, because
me too.
Cliff is bad with monies, and here we are. But that means we get to review it on the show. We're not doing that today, because Cliff has only had the phone for like a couple of days at this point.
Yeah, this is my second day with it, actually.
Yeah. Hi. So what I thought we could do for this DTMR, as we're maybe going to start calling it, we could just get Cliff's kind of like first impressions of the iPhone 15 Pro. Like, so where are you landing with it? Like, why did you get it, and where are you landing with it now? Because you had the 14 Pro. So
I had the 14 Pro Max for a year.
Oh, right.
And it was my first time owning an iPhone in quite a while. I think since the 10. So that was my big return to iOS, other than having an iPad here or there.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I tried to do was simplify, some of the money that was going out of the house. I had a lot of things in a lot of places, and my wife was due for an upgrade, and I thought, well, why don't we just here was the thing. She had damaged her 12 Pro Max.
Okay.
With the screen, so I couldn't just sell it and without having it repaired, which is something I'm still looking to do. But so I thought, why don't I just get the 12 Pro Max over to her, and I'll just ride Android for a bit. And then so we've been doing that for about a month, and then I started getting the itch.
You got itchy.
I got itchy. But honestly, I just really missed my iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's the reason. I really miss my iPhone. It's funny.
Kind of same.
Yeah.
I
mean, what's funny is I this has been my daily driver, actually, with the case on it here, but this is the Nothing Phone 2. I've had this for about a month now, and what I'm laughing about.
Also, a review coming to the channel.
Yeah. With a Spigen, I forget the actual case name, but it's got the clear back, and then I've added the MagSafe, or I forget what is a quick lock or something that Spigen calls it, also added to it. No, I just think it's funny because this looks like an iPhone 10 in terms of the form factor. It's so much like it.
Yeah.
Funny thing with this, actually, this is the first phone my daughter was like, that's the coolest case, and then That's really neat. So I took the case. It's the back of the phone, and she was like, play with it.
That's funny.
It definitely like having the little thing, and then she hadn't even seen the LEDs yet.
Yeah.
I was showing. I was. That's a fun thing to demonstrate if people haven't seen it before. But anyway, so yeah,
Yeah, totally.
I really, I mean, one of the things that was pushing me is the fact that yes, I can get USB-C on this now. And the one thing I really didn't like about the 14 Pro Max was, as much as I love the build quality, the industrial design, those hard edges just
Mm,
dug into my hand, especially with the Pro Max, because it's a beast
yeah,
toy. So those decisions, wanting an iPhone and also the fact that this has USB-C and the fact that they have soft in the corners pushed me to get, instead of the Pro Max, because I've had the larger of the 2 Pros for a while now in terms of my,
yeah,
I haven't had a compact phone in a while. So I decided to go with the natural titanium, which I love. Love this colorway. It seems to be really popular with a lot of people, and
yes.
it's
Yes, it is.
and it is back ordered more than most of the other colorways. Although this was the other thing that was motivating me. I was able to find it locally
Mm,
at a local carrier store and in the capacity that I wanted, and I could pick it up that day. So
nice.
yeah, it was an impulse buy, but I'm very glad that I did it. So
Sure. Yeah,
reasons,
absolutely.
reasons, I guess, I am glad that I did it and I was able to get it for free by trading in a phone.
Mhm.
So, I mean, in that respect, it's not that much of it's nothing out of pocket for
Right.
now. So
For now.
you asked me reasons, that's why.
Yeah.
So
No,
there you
that's
go.
legit. I mean, like, and I've been on the iPhone Android rotation for a while
Right.
now, and for some reason, like, when iPhone time comes around again, I get more excited than I do when it's time to switch over to Android. And I don't know why. Like, honestly, if you put a gun to my head and said pick one, I'm going to pick Android.
I am too. Yeah.
Just because like it has okay, so I'm not one who micromanages my phone, but I am one who kind of likes to put things in a certain way. And I was remembering as I set up the iPhone that you don't so much place icons on your home screen as you kind of trick them into where you want them to go.
This is
you
very true.
know
I was remembering that
yeah.
when I was trying to place some widgets. It's not
Mhm.
easy. It's
It's
very
not.
frustrating.
It is really not. It can be an exercise in frustration. So, but I mean, there's just something oddly appealing
Hmm.
about the iPhone, and just like it's such a cliche, but it they earn it so much. It's kind of like how saying, New York is where you want to go if you want to be, where all the movers are. After a while, I personally think that's a little overrated, but or at least to start, it was
For
overrated
someone who lives in
because what
Chicago, I mean,
well, sure, but what happens is, like, the word gets out there that that's the place to be, and so all the people that wanna be somebody go to New York, and then all the companies who wanna find people that are gonna be somebody go to New York because that's where the people are, and because all the companies are there, then more people start to go. It
yeah,
becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy,
it absolutely.
as
Mhm.
does, and where I'm going with all of this was, um, Apple kind of becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy, because like a lot of things do just work on an iPhone. Like
Yeah.
I've actually come across a couple of software bugs. Now, full disclosure, my review for the iPhone 15 Pro has already published with Slash Gear. It published like about just under a week ago. So I've had exposure to the phone a lot more than Cliff has. Cliff's going to be reviewing it for the channel because kind of legally he has to. But anyway, um, but also
It
because
also
like
gives me something to do,
yeah,
I'm
right. But I mean, since I've reviewed it as well, we can obviously exchange
sure.
ideas.
Sure.
But anyway, there's something refreshing about going back to an iPhone and saying like, there's all these like apps that work really well, and like the dynamic island is still reporting the disappointing Cubs
Right.
scores and stuff like that. So speaking of which, my God. Anyway, um,
So,
um, yeah,
well, I was gonna say, so in terms of refreshing, I'll tell you that and I'm sure you've had this same experience. Moving it into an iPhone after being on Android, and while Android has gotten better,
Mhm.
moving into an iPhone is just the best thing as an
Oh my
experience.
god, it's so easy.
It's so
It's so
easy.
stupid easy.
And the
Like
fact
yeah.
that not only does it literally bring your old phone over, for lack of a better term, it also, for many of your apps, they just work right out of the box. You don't have to log in. It's just so nice.
Yeah, I mean
And
it well, and yeah, a lot of apps do that. And actually I stumbled across something
mhm,
where I installed like a new app or I logged into a new app or something and it asked something about like, do you want to store this login in not the iCloud keychain, but something like OS level that basically said if you put it in here, it'll automatically transfer over to like future phones as you log into them. And I'm just like, "Oh, absolutely,
yes,
yes."
please.
And again, I wonder why Android doesn't have something like that because it really, really should. Like the onboarding experience.
Yeah,
And I mean, say what you want about how stupid our jobs are. I get that. But, you know, when it comes to just onboarding to a new device, whether it's once a year, once every other year,
right.
or whatever, it Apple pantses Android and takes its lunch money like every single time in almost every way. It's ridiculously fast, it's ridiculously simple. And Android, while it has gotten better, especially when you're staying within OEMs, like going from Samsung to
Exactly.
Samsung or OnePlus to OnePlus, they have gotten better in that capacity. But just like taking a random Android phone and moving into another random Android phone kind of still sucks.
I will tell you though, lately, and this is with relatively recent phones, I've had some very bad experiences, not necessarily with my phones, but as one becomes when you are known as the phone guy for the
Yeah.
people in your circles,
Yeah.
when someone I have a friend who just will not deal with moving into a new phone, and basically I become the person who deals with
Well, that
all of
sounds
that
a
kind
lot
of
like your
stuff.
friend's problem, not your problem. But anyway.
So uh she got and I think it was an the A03 or A13 from Samsung.
A
So
low-end Samsung, right.
right, a low-end Samsung phone. I think it was like a track phone. But anyway, and was moving from another Android phone.
Okay.
And I did the thing where I tried to just using first of all, I installed Android or Samsung's Move To or whatever their app is
Smart
called,
switch.
Smart Switch, and
Yep.
it was not a Samsung phone. Um,
Mm.
but
Well,
uh
yeah, but you can still do that. But yeah.
but I've had this experience now with multiple phones from multiple manufacturers on Android. I've done
Okay.
this several times. It just will not connect. Just
Mm.
will
Like,
it
why are you doing wirelessly or wired?
I've done wirelessly, I have done wired. It
Okay.
just will not bring the data over. I've had this
Mm.
happen with my phones, and it is so frustrating. Was right, but I think all of these phones, like that, I think the phone she was moving from was still had like Android 11 on it. It was a
Mm.
relatively recent build of Android.
Okay.
And the only thing that would work was backing up from the cloud or
Mm.
from a cloud backup. It just wouldn't they would not talk to each other.
Mm. So weird.
I know, and so I this has actually gotten worse that as far as an experience with Android than I in my experience it has been in the past. Now, I really have not had issues, but most of the time I am doing I think the one phone series where I have not had issues is Pixel to Pixel. That if I'm
Yeah.
actually connecting
Oh,
the 2
that's ridiculously easy, yes.
works super simple
Mm.
every single time.
And Samsung to Samsung,
Yeah,
definitely.
typically does. Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I understand um why you can't have that same extremely easy experience because Android is the base operating system, but then everybody
Mhm.
is putting their own, seasonings on top of it, and because of that, there may be incompatibilities, especially when it is like a Samsung device where they put a lot of their own
Mm.
services and
Seasonings.
ways
No,
of
I love
modals of
hamburgers.
doing things on top
Yeah.
of it. However, yes, just going back to what we're saying,
Yeah.
the ease of transferring stuff over on Apple, even when
Okay.
it's like an iPad from an iPhone or even Macs. moving into a new Mac and dealing with some of that
Mhm.
stuff is just really nice. It all, as they say, just works. So yeah,
I haven't moved into a new Mac in a while, actually, now that I think about it. I've been
I
on
mean,
Windows for a
there's some
long
other.
time.
I have some gripes with Mac OS becoming more and more like iOS, and in terms of maybe over or simplification and
Mm,
pushing widgets and things like that. But that's,
right.
that's kind of its own thing. But yeah, so I think this is something that, everybody's very excited about, something that you wanted to talk about. One of the things that actually, before I say this, well, what I was going to say is that now all across devices you have USB-C, which is
Right.
great,
And I have one more thing I wanna talk about before we get into
right? And I also wanted to
USB-C.
give you some hardware
Um,
impressions of the Pro.
okay, yeah, so I first of all, I wanted to ask, since you've had the phone for a couple of days, where have you landed on the action button?
I have not changed it yet because,
You haven't
frankly,
so
I
it's still silent? Okay.
the reason is I actually used the silent switch
Okay.
on, and it seems like, at least the people that are in your profession and somewhat my, my side gig,
Yeah.
just leave it on silent all the time. I don't do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't either. But, um, so
I
did
I
I oh, go ahead,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say I am excited about exploring the action button and seeing some different things that I can do with it. Maybe that would be more useful day to day than than having the silent switch. But I really do just,
Mhm.
I like having the ability to just, you know,
Silence the phone.
click the
So,
phone for when I'm doing something like this, right?
that's
It's
cool.
it's super convenient.
So I
And
wanna
that
show you this, I know we wrote this up on Slash Gear, and I know there's, like, a YouTube video out there that kind of explains how to do this, but I set this up, on my plane ride to New York, which we'll talk about in a second, but, there is a shortcut that you can create that when you push the action button, you actually get a menu of things to do. So,
Ooh,
yeah, and so you can see that it turns on your flashlight, you can open your camera, you can switch to silent mode, and you can navigate home. And I've got, call my wife down at the bottom of the list
I
because
see that.
I don't want to accidentally tap it. But like, so, and the cool part is like for navigate home, when I travel, I can set my home destination to be my hotel, but now that I'm home, I can set it to my home because I navigate home all the time, mostly
Right.
because like a lot of the time when I go out of the house, I'm going to find a geocache and I have no idea how to get back to my house from where I've gone. So, but yeah, so this is like a shortcut that you can set up. And there's a YouTube video. I'll link to the YouTube video in the description. That kind of shows you, like, walks you through step by step how to set that up.
Mm.
It's really cool. And like, I love this menu. I kind of landed on a flashlight for the action button originally, just because whenever I have an action button like that, like an action button, whatever Android calls it, that's usually where I go with it because between opening the camera and using the flashlight, those are the two things that I use most on my phone that I don't want to have to turn on my phone in order
Right.
to do. So,
Use Face ID, and then you have to go down and find the button, make sure you
right,
do the long press
right.
on it so that it actually works. Yeah, so
Right. So yeah, those are the 2 things, and since I had to pick, since iOS doesn't have the double push the power button to launch the camera, I had to pick between one or the other, and I ultimately went with flashlight because I do that just a little bit more often than I do. Because like, with a camera, I think I'm gonna be a little bit more deliberate about that. Oh, that is a thing I would like to take a picture of, so I'm gonna go through those motions, but it's like, oh crap, I just dropped something. Boop, there's my flashlight,
so
I don't want
so
to have
what
to,
I what I'm hoping, and we'll see, obviously, right? But
Mhm.
I'm hoping that Apple is just kind of sitting back, seeing how people actually use the action
Oh
button,
yeah.
because it
Oh
is
yeah.
a new thing, and they can take that data and then, based on that, offer, preset customizations. Like,
Mhm.
and what I don't necessarily mean what it does, but rather you can offer one tap, two taps, a long
Yes.
press.
Well, I actually talking about that with some techie friends over this week, and a lot of them kind of landed on that's probably going to be an iOS 18 thing
Yeah,
because then they
probably.
can be like, here's the new
New
iPhone,
feature.
here's the new iPhone 16. And you remember last year when we introduced the innovative new action button? Now here's all these new things that you can do with
Yeah.
it. And that's going to
That would be the
and
Apple way to
everyone's
do
going to
it.
be like, we should have had that last year. And they're going to be like, silence you. Here's what you can do with it now.
We have invented multiple button presses.
Right. We have invented the double press.
And it will be a beautifully produced video that you've traveled to Cupertino to watch.
Let's flip on over to USB-C because that's a big deal. So like, where do you land with that? I mean, obviously, I think we're both pretty happy about it.
What was that?
I think we're both pretty happy about USB-C.
Oh, a USB-C. Okay.
Yeah.
I got distracted by a beeping. So, I mean, I don't really have that much to say about it, except it's about time. I think I understand why Apple didn't do it, but yes, the ability to charge, both of my phones. Actually, the ability to charge both of my phones either with MagSafe or with USB-C, whether it's an Android phone or my iPhone, is just delicious.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, so I recently installed a head unit in my car that supports wireless Android Auto and Android CarPlay. But sometimes you also want to connect it, physically, because it'll charge your phone while that's happening. And just again, not having to pop off one cable, like reach over to the door pocket when you're fishing for the other kind of cable, just using one is a huge example of, besides charging, why that is so nice. It's just one cable for everything, which I think you did a video about.
Yeah. So that kind of segues us over into our new into our second category. That this is going to be how we're going to wrap up the show. But so I just traveled to New York. Today is Saturday. This will probably go up like Sunday or Monday, but today is Saturday, and I got home from New York yesterday. I was in New York Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so 3 days. And one of the things that I wanted to try, I wanted to, I like to do extreme stupid things. Like, I just like to try things out
Pet tricks,
just to see if it works, just to see, like, here's the thing that this thing can do. I'm going to take it to the extreme and like, let's see if that works out. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. I put waterproof phones in fish tanks, and stuff like that. But anyway, what I wanted to do this time was, since all the tech people were saying, now that you have USB-C on your iPhone, you only need to take one cable with you when you're traveling. Now, what they mean is you only need to take one type of cable. So you could use the same cable to charge your laptop and your phone and your headphones and your iPad and stuff like that. But what I took them a little bit more literally and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take one plug. This is the Anker. I think it's a 75700 and some watt charger. We did a review on this, link in the show notes, and the Anker Bio cable from our Earth Day episode. And these were the only 2 charging devices that I took with me for a 3-day trip into New York. Now, for that trip, I had my iPhone. I had 5 other phones that I took to for reasons that will become clear when the reason I went to New York because is disclosable, because right now it's very not. But anyway, so I took 5 other phones. I took 2 sets of earbuds. I took my laptop. I took my iPad. And I had to run all of that off of a single plug and a single cable. And the results were actually kind of surprising. So
surprising in a positive or negative way?
I'd rather not say because I'm actually documenting the experience as a video for our patrons.
Gotcha.
So if you want to hear the whole story on that, this is what we like to call in the biz a little teaser. Go to benefitofadoubt.com or patreon.com/benefitofadoubt, I should say. And you can sign up for as low as $2 per month. And you will
Yes,
have
sir.
access to this video and you will discover the results of my little test. Now, I should say that there were a couple of caveats involved. Um, not the least of which was I took along a laptop charger for my laptop, which also was USB-C. Just because laptop's kind of important when you're traveling.
Very true.
So it kind of felt a little bit like cheating. I also took a MagSafe
Battery?
puck.
Ah,
Uh, yeah. And well, I also took a MagSafe battery, which actually is going to be the subject of a future video. But anyway, so I lay it all out in the video in the Patreon. So go check it out and
yeah.
see what you think. So like now you can travel with just one cable. I put that to the test.
Very cool. I'm curious to
Mhm.
see how that goes. Guess I should
I
sign up for being a Patreon member again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know why you're a Patreon member as long as you were, to be honest. But no, I got to put together that video. That's probably going to be a tomorrow
Gotcha.
project.
Now, I guess the
But
caveats for
yeah,
me would be, and I think that so you took along your laptop charger separately, but with the right third party charger, right? You actually could do like
I
I
can do laptop too.
in
Yeah,
right, exactly. I actually or we have in from Anchor, I believe it's a 240 volt charger we also need to review.
yeah, yeah.
That has a USB A and two USB C out, and will output enough to charge a laptop
Oh yeah.
and your phone. So you technically, at least with the one that I have, and granted, it's because it's such a high voltage. It's a pretty beefy charger, but
Hmm.
you really could take one charger and then one cable for everything as long as you've got the right
So
thickness, like a cable that will do the efficiency or
right.
will handle that amount of voltage for everything. So
So one thing I did learn was well, two things. First of all, if you are going to do that experiment, plan ahead.
yeah,
Like, have an idea in your mind, I'm going to charge this thing at this time and this thing
right.
at this time. And, in addition to that, there can't be any downtime for that cable. Something always has to be plugged in because, like,
Cycling
especially
through.
when you're dealing with, the stupid amount of devices that I travel with. You need to have that cable going pretty much 24/7. So plan on what you're going to charge when you're sleeping, plan on what you're going to charge when you wake up, plan on what you're going to charge after you're done charging your phone, stuff like that.
Right.
And then the
Be
other
like a
thing,
bodega in New York, just always open,
yep,
always serving.
yep. And by the way, like two impressions of New York that I wanna leave you with, and I think we can go ahead and actually wrap up the video here. First of all, and I said this on Threads, if I was gonna steal any concept from New York and import it into Chicago, it is the concept of the bodega because there is just
Mhm.
something really charming about being able to walk into like a convenience store and walk out with like a deli sandwich,
It's
you
great.
know? Along with like toothpaste and like a nail clipper if you
A
need
lot
it.
of bodegas actually will have like a shorter cook too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I went to a bodega my first day there, and they got like a salad and a panini and a tube of toothpaste. I mean, it was really
It
fun.
is awesome. You know
Um,
something else I follow on Threads, the Instagram created competitor to what is now X, formerly Twitter. There, and I'm
mhm.
sure that this account probably exists other places, but it's Bodega Cats.
Okay.
It literally is just photographs of cats from
At
bodegas, and I'm
bodegas.
assuming mostly in New York, and I love it because it's just cats, photographs of cats sleeping on things like pallets of water bottles and like
Okay,
in the window, and it's
that's
a
fun.
yeah, it's good. It's good times. I highly recommend that account if you like pets and animals, and also we rate dogs. That is a great
Oh yeah, that's an
account to
insta
follow.
follow. Did you know? Did you see We Rate Dogs started up a YouTube channel
No.
with yeah, and the concept on their YouTube channel. I think they do other stuff too, but like their big push right now is celebrities walking their dogs.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
they'll go out. I saw one with Adam Savage from Mythbusters, and then I saw another one with David Bautista. And you know, they take them out, they talk about their dogs, and they talk about like where they got their dogs, and you
Huh.
know,
I like
the
that.
dogs' personalities and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really it's so charming.
They definitely need
Um,
to do like a series of people and their pets that the pets look like their owners.
right.
I love
Um,
those. This is
yeah.
so funny.
And so then the other concept that I would not this isn't like a concept of New York, but like an impression of New York. The one thing that will never get over because it's kind of awesome is the architecture in New York. Honestly, looks like they handed like a box of crayons to a bunch of third graders and said, "Draw the wackiest buildings you can think of," and then they went out and built them, and they turned out really great. Like like they've just got some of the oddest and yet most compelling architecture there that like I've ever, you know, you've got buildings that go like up into super duper points. You've got other buildings with like a staircase on one side, and then like the building across from it goes up like in a reverse staircase next to it. Like it's just like they have such some of the wackiest buildings there, and
It
it's
also is like
really
it's very
lovely.
eclectic because you've got buildings from different eras. Like you have the
Oh
historic
yeah.
ones
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mixed in the same areas with, you know, modern
Mhm.
whimsical architecture, also brutalist, like 80s brutalist architecture, all sorts of different things.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's
So yeah,
fun.
it
I
was
love
yeah,
New
I
York.
mean,
I just wouldn't want to live there. That's what I'll say.
no, couldn't pay me enough to live there,
Mm.
honestly. But you know, and honestly, this, you know, next week being my fourth trip to New York this year, I think I'm pretty New Yorked out for 2023. I think I'm pretty good now.
Yeah, you better bring
I'm not
your walking your good walking shoes. That's one
yeah,
thing I found out.
I'm definitely not closing the door on going to New York again this year because you know there's still a few months left,
Yeah.
but I'll be honest, I kind of hope so. But anyway,
So something
no,
I will say, we kind of
yeah,
began the podcast by talking about the fact that Techtober is upon us and
hmm
Techtember is ending. But is it just me, or did Techtember actually have more than it normally does? It feels like Techtober has actually bled over into
yeah, there was a
September enough to
lot,
where it became like it just those 2 months are now like blocked out with all
yeah.
sorts of announcements.
Well, and I mean, when you think about it, like what we saw this year, and this is just off the top of my head, we had iPhone, we had Amazon, we had Microsoft, we had those are like the big 3. What else did we have? Shoot. Like I'm blanking now
What, in
completely on
September? Yeah,
yeah, in
Amazon,
September.
Apple,
Oh, Meta had a
Meta.
thing.
Yep, I know that.
Um,
And there were
you
some
know,
smaller events too, weren't there?
yeah,
Well, IFA
probably. Oh, well, IFA, yeah, kind of bled over
kind of
from
bled over. It
August.
was like the
Yeah.
end of August. So that all kind of again, it feels like the end of even August, because August had a Samsung event, right?
Mhm.
It all this like
Well,
August
end
through
of July
October.
did, but yeah.
Yeah, again, see? It's this just like giant block. I don't even know if you can call it 1 month anymore.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, it should be mentioned that there are a couple of things that we know are coming that we can't talk
Right.
about yet.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
you know, I've been going to a lot of like briefings and stuff this year, or this month, I should say, that I'm just not allowed to talk about yet. So, but yeah, it's going to be like October is going to be extremely busy for me. So if I seem grouchy at the end of at the end of this next month, that's probably why. It's because I've had like literally 2 nights to myself the entire month. But you know, we'll talk about that next month because that is going to do it for this episode of the Doubting Thomas Monthly Recap. Please consider subscribing to this podcast since this is going to be an audio podcast as well. If you enjoyed it, and if you really enjoyed it, leave a review on that software where you are listening to that podcast. We prefer iTunes, but all reviews are welcome. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click that subscribe button and smash that bell so you can be notified of some new episodes and reviews as they drop. And I got to say, man, our reviews have been popping recently. So we very much appreciate you jumping on and talking about it. And if you want some early access, you want to find out what it's like to go to New York for 3 days with only one cable, hop on to Patreon at patreon.com/benefit of the Doud. And I'd like to thank co-producer Cliff for all of his hard work behind the scenes, but most of all, and as always, I would like to thank you for listening and or watching and for giving us the benefit of the Doud.